So we have episodes 4 and 5 after a short week because they didn't want the viewership to be impacted by the Super Bowl, which brings us to Kansas City, both the winners of the Super Bowl and where our story takes place.
Coincidence? I think not!
I've gotten a lot of people asking me where these episode breakdowns are, and part of it was because life got in the way for a few days. Definitely not me playing Hogwarts Legacy, but the main reason I wanted to hold off doing the episode 4 review was because it really was just part 1 of this story arc. Quite literally, the end of episode 4 could have said "to be continued," because these two episodes together act as a part 1 and part 2 of the same story, giving us the entire story of the Kansas City Survivors and Sam and Henry. So in this video, I'm going to be going over my thoughts on this storyline, some details from the game that you might have missed, and how these episodes are already foreshadowing the second season of The Last of Us. So quit acting hurt.
He ain't even hurt.
Buckle in as we journey our way through the streets of Kansas City. To start off, let's talk about Sam and Henry. So in episode 4, we're led to believe that Henry is this psychotic monster running rampant through the city, murdering everybody, and then he comes across Joel and Ellie, and we're left on the to be continued. But us fans of the game know that Henry is just trying to get out of the city with his brother. They form an alliance with Joel and Ellie because they're trying to do the same thing, and a lot of this is lifted straight out of the game, and that's done really beautifully. The actors themselves for Sam and Henry are absolutely perfect, both in terms of their acting ability and, for a change, how they actually looked in the game as well. Lamar Johnson plays an older brother doing everything and anything he can to get his younger brother to safety incredibly well, and this relationship between the two of them is so believable. There are, however, some changes from the game when it comes to the pair, particularly Sam. In the show, they decided to make Sam deaf and also have leukemia, which doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense to me. Sam being deaf didn't really add anything to the dynamics in any way other than to build some tension around what he's writing on his notepad. There was one moment where Henry is trying to convince Joel to work together, and Sam asks what he's saying, and Henry tells him, "Oh, Joel is saying that he's going to help us out of the city, right?" And that was a great moment that couldn't have been done otherwise, but other than these small moments, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. An older brother doing anything to protect his naive and immature and younger brother is still present in this storyline, and it's enough to make us care about these characters. It was enough for the game, so why change this for the show? Henry had to kill Kathleen's brother in order to get medicine for Sam since he has leukemia, but this also could have just been the reason if he had to get Sam some food or something like that. It almost feels too tragic to the point that it's not really believable anymore. And if the reason is to bring in some representation for deaf people, that's fine. I can see that reasoning, but my issue with that is that it's becoming all too common in apocalypse type stories. You have Connie and Kelly in The Walking Dead, you have Reagan in A Quiet Place. It seems like the only place there is representation for deaf characters is in apocalyptic stories, and it's not even really representation since it's being used as a plot device, isn't it? I don't think a lot of people have the same issue. I don't hate the change. I think it works really well in the episodes. I'm just a bit confused by it. And at the end of their storyline, we get the same ending from the game, and I really like how they did this scene. Gotta give quick props to Bella Ramsey for their performance in this scene. It was amazing, but I'm also seeing people who haven't played the game start to notice a pattern. Joel and Ellie go from place to place, meeting people who join them on their journey or who they just meet. The audience starts to care for them, and then they kill them off. I said this in my analysis of Bill's episode because he died in the show, but he survived in the game. And it really does seem like everywhere that Joel and Ellie go and everybody that they meet, they just die in the end. So it's like, why bother even caring for these people? I think we're past the point where this happens in the game, but with the additions in the show, there's no telling what new characters we might come across, start to like, and then for them to die. It's something some of my friends and family who haven't played the game pointed out to me, that all of these people just die and it's becoming predictable, so hopefully for everybody's sake, that pattern doesn't continue. Next, let's go over the biggest change across these episodes, and that's the introduction of Kathleen and the Survivors. I think this was actually a really great change from the game. Of course, in the game, Joel comes across like dozens of these people, and they're just nameless bad guys disguised as obstacles in the game, so humanizing these people and giving a face to the enemy was a really great decision. There's small moments that remind you of just how brutal this world is, and how at the end of the day, everybody is just trying to survive. When they first get to the city, we get the great moment from the game where Joel and Ellie crash into the store after running over the guy, which I am a little sad that Joel didn't say.
He ain't even hurt.
But that's just a nitpick, I know. But after Ellie shoots this guy, he begs and pleads for his life to the point where even I was like, oh damn, I actually feel really bad for this guy. He's talking about his mom and how he doesn't want to die, and it really set the tone for what the rest of this entire arc was going to be like. Kathleen, for me, is a bit of a mixed bag. The main complaint I hear is that she's a bad leader because she was so focused on revenge. And oh boy, I'll address that in a little bit, but she's not supposed to be this great leader that everybody follows because she makes the right decisions. She's not supposed to be Rick Grimes. She can't lead these people into peace and survival. It's like she was the face of this rebellion, and now that they got what they wanted, they're all like, now what? And she doesn't know. All she knows is she wants to get revenge over being an actual leader, so she makes the wrong decisions, and since she's the leader, her people follow her. I think this is a very interesting way to make a side villain because we all knew she wasn't going to make it out alive, but it was all about what she was going to do before she died. So what did she do? Well, her actions certainly led to Sam's death, ultimately, but it also led to the death of every single person we saw in episodes 4 and 5. Most of their military crew was in these suburbs, and they all got ripped to pieces literally, so everybody else back in the city, once this horde makes its way there, they're all dead. We saw that there was already an issue within the city itself, so if it wasn't for this, then it would have been for that. And Kathleen's need for revenge eventually led to the death of herself and her people. Revenge is just an inevitable failure, and if you've played part 2, I think you get what I'm saying here, but I'll leave that conversation for the end of the video. Throughout both of these episodes, there are a ton of references to the game, from small ones like the bridge in Pittsburgh, the Savage Starlight comics, Joel and Ellie's conversation in the car, Sam and Ellie playing soccer underground. I could go on, they really did a fantastic job with these game references, but perhaps the biggest reference was the Danny and Ish poster that Joel finds underground. For those that haven't played the game, this might seem a little bit arbitrary, but this exact picture was taken right out of the game, and it was a pretty big deal in the game itself. This single picture, along with other things found in the game, tells a story about this underground civilization, how there were kids, protectors, but they're all gone, presumably all dead or turned into clickers. It's this sense of world building that added so much to the game and makes you really think about just what's happened to the world they now live in, how everybody has their own story, and most of them aren't even alive to tell it anymore. While stuff like this in TV shows is pretty common, this was a pretty popular moment from the game, and I'm really glad that they added it in there. The most popular moment in episode 5 was obviously the attack at the end, and part of this moment was lifted right from the game itself. While the sniper attack actually takes place during the daytime and doesn't cause hundreds of infected to swarm them, this level is heavily referenced and even improved upon in some ways. When Joel gets to the sniper, it once again humanizes the enemy because it's just some old guy following orders. Joel begs him to put the gun down and he'll let him live, but Joel has to do what he has to do, and these small moments add to the world building and the characters in the show. All of these little moments that humanize the enemy are just so great and so tragic at the same time. We also got to see 2 more infected types in this episode, the Stalker, a more agile and quick infected, and of course, the Bloater. Is this going to be the only time we see them? Maybe. They seem incredibly rare, so I wouldn't expect to find them like everywhere they go from here on out. Maybe another time this season, but that's probably it. The Bloater also killed Perry, and for those that don't know, Perry is the voice actor for Tommy in the games, and he didn't change his voice at all, so all I could hear was Tommy when he spoke. Not like a bad thing about the episodes at all, but it was just funny to me hearing Tommy's voice come out of somebody who wanted to find and kill Joel. But with references to the game also comes changes from the game, and there's certainly a lot of them. Some of them I'm happy with, others not so much. Episode 4 really highlighted Joel and Ellie's growing relationship and added some new moments that we never saw in the game. Ellie telling jokes from her pun book while Joel's pumping gas, him getting very annoyed at her, their night out in the woods, and of course the ending where Joel finally laughs are all really great additions. I loved how Ellie brought up the fact that she didn't know if they were safe in these woods, so Joel assures her that she is, just for her to fall asleep and him to get up and patrol. These small moments are excellent at furthering their development and say so much about how far they've come already. While a lot of Joel and Ellie development did happen, this character development is wildly different than it was in the game. Ellie saves Joel's life, but he's not angry, he doesn't scold her, but he also doesn't give her the sniper to help him through the city either. While this change is, I think, for the better, because these episodes did give a face to the enemy and they weren't just obstacles, I do think this was a great moment in the game, and I'm sad it wasn't adapted. There's also the matter of Henry, Sam, Joel, and Ellie's escape from the city. When it cut to them just walking into the neighborhood, I was so confused because there was so much missing there. But the more I think about it, the more it does make sense. In the game, Joel and Ellie have to jump from the bridge because an armored truck is approaching them, and Ellie makes the decision to jump because she knows that Joel is going to save her. Filming this in the show could have been incredibly difficult, not that they couldn't have done it, but it might have even been a little bit cheesy, so I understand cutting it, but again, little sad it wasn't adapted. I think a change that really should have been in the show was Henry and Sam abandoning Joel and Ellie once they got in a spot of trouble. They tried to do this in the sniper scene when he starts shooting. Henry and Sam try to get away, but then the sniper keeps on shooting at them and Henry's like, okay, never mind. And this was just kind of ridiculous to me. It was like a reference, but also just a weird moment. If they were gonna cut this whole storyline, this whole side storyline, they should have just cut that scene too, because it was just funny to me. But the scene in the game showed how angry Joel was for leaving him and particularly Ellie in danger, and showed us once again that Joel is willing to do nearly anything to protect her. But because this was cut, this means that Joel's character is also a little bit different from the game. Joel isn't as angry or brooding as he was in the game. He's actually a lot more compassionate and understanding in this version. I'd go as far as to say he's even more likable than he was in the game. While I think a lot of this is Pedro's performance as Joel, it's definitely a bit of the writing as well, and if people are sympathizing with Joel and liking him this much as a person, I'm really not too sure how they're going to handle the ending of this season. If you know what I'm referring to, then you know what I'm saying, and if you don't, well, then this leads me to my next segment, the Part 2 setup. Now, for those of you who are only watching the show and haven't played the games, there's going to be spoilers ahead right now, so if you don't want to be spoiled, thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one. But if you have played the games or just don't care about spoilers, I'm going to be talking about how this episode is setting up Part 2 or Season 2 of the show. People's main problem with Kathleen was that she was all about revenge, and she wasn't looking after the people around her. Well, this is going to be very similar to Ellie's entire storyline in Season 2. Might be Season 3 as well. I've heard that they're going to split Part 2's story into 2 seasons, but regardless, these episodes are basically showing us a version of what Ellie is going to turn out to be. And this is contrasted very well with Ellie's relationship with Sam in this episode. They're both kids looking at the brighter side of life. They have 2 people to look after them and take care of them so that way they can be free to remain kids. Kids who have a jovial outlook on life, even when it seems dark and bleak. Sam gets infected, and Ellie says she's immune, so don't worry about it. She can just give him some blood and he'll be saved. When this doesn't go according to plan, Ellie is horrified and deeply affected by this. She wants to get to the Fireflies as soon as possible so that way she can make this cure and save everybody. I think this change is really great. Everybody's saying that Ellie should have told Joel, but she's immune. She thinks that she can save everybody, and most importantly, she wants to. This is going to make the ending of this season that much more impactful because Ellie has already made her intentions clear. She wants to save the world and the people in it, but Joel isn't going to allow her to do that. This is what I was saying before about Pedro's performance as Joel, because he's incredibly likable. If the audience is liking Joel and seeing him as this hero, then they're just going to think what he does at the end is a good thing to do. because he's a good guy who saves his daughter. But that's not what the ending is, and I really hope they capture that, even with all these changes to Joel's character. Those are episodes 4 and 5. I apologize for the wait for this video. Like I said, I wanted to do episodes 4 and 5 together, and I think episodes maybe 7 and 8 are going to be the same way. Maybe not, maybe it'll be a different 2. But if they are like this, like a part 1 and part 2 of the same storyline, then I'm going to wait and do one video just like this. But what are your thoughts on this episode? Did you like the changes, or do you wish things were handled differently? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Last of Us content. If you do, then I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.